Matt, let's dig in and talk about what it takes to get ready for trial. And really, preparation for a trial starts during the discovery process. Now, if you're new to our podcast, discovery is the formal information gathering process that happens during a divorce. So remember, there are two tracks to divorce in Mississippi. You've got a non-contested track, which is where the parties consent to a divorce. They voluntarily exchange information. They use that information to reach a settlement. That's how most people get a divorce. But also in Mississippi, we have a litigation track. So if you're trying to prove grounds for divorce or there's a contested custody situation, that's litigation like any other type of lawsuit. And so there is a formal information gathering process called discovery. And in discovery, we exchange written questions called interrogatories. We exchange requests for production of documents and information. And then we have subpoena power and we take depositions. And so there are lots of tools for gathering information. So Matt, what would you want our listener to understand about the discovery process as it relates to preparing for trial?
Right. Okay. So first, I would say the discovery process is a long one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one that's going to start in some form or fashion almost immediately after the complaint for divorce is filed.
And it's ongoing.
And it's ongoing, and it is going to lead you right up to, the days or certainly weeks before trial.
Right.
Okay?
And divorce is change, right? So you have been living a life, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then all of a sudden, a divorce throws things in. There might be living in different places. There's different arrangements with regard to the children. And so one thing, it's not like a car wreck or a crime. Those happen in one moment. But the facts in a family law dispute are ongoing and are developing. And, some people, for example, this is a really difficult time. Maybe one of the parents starts medicating with alcohol or drugs or with some kind of a relationship. And so things change.
Right. Well, I always tell people, in divorces, you litigate on sand. Everything is constantly changing beneath you. So going back to the question about discovery, I mean, there's all types of discovery, and depending on, the facts of your case and maybe how complex certain things are, you might not utilize every single facet of discovery.
Yeah, you want to cast a wide net.
Right.
You want to gather as much possible information as you can because, look, here's the thing. People who try divorce cases, we're storytellers. And so what we're trying to do is gather the raw materials, and that could be testimony from witnesses. It certainly is your story. It could be documents. It could be photographs. It could be videos. It could be audio recordings. It could be cell phone bills. It could be bank statements. It could be appraisals. And Matt, that leads me to think about what's always exhibit number 1 and 2 in any divorce trial is going to be a financial statement. And so if the dispute that you're faced with going to trial over is a financial one of the key pieces of paper is going to be what in Mississippi we call the 805 Financial Declaration. It's named 805 because of the rule, the Uniform Chancery Court Rule 805, that requires us to put together a statement of income, assets, and liabilities. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to continually be tweaking and updating that 805 Financial Declaration as things change and more information becomes available to you.
Right. You can't find a less sexy piece of material that is more important.
It's what every judge is going to look at.
Right. Ideally, if you do your financial declaration correctly, a judge can almost make a ruling off of just looking at that document alone.
Yeah, certainly on the financial aspects of the dispute, for sure.
Right. I mean, involved in it, there's going to be certain biographical information. There's going to be income. There's going to be monthly expenses, assets, liabilities.
Yeah, and that budget,
okay?
And again, that budget changes. I mean, you might not have been in therapy before, your divorce started, but now you're in therapy. You might not have been taking some kind of medicine for anxiety or depression, but now you are, and that may or may not be covered by insurance, and your therapist may not be covered by insurance, and maybe, a more reasonably priced apartment or rental house is not available, and so that's going to impact the finances. And just like you said earlier, how you're litigating in sand, things are going to change from a financial standpoint. And that's why I can't stress this enough. It is super important to have great dialogue with your attorneys. You're going to have to, I understand it's expensive, but there's got to be ongoing dialogue, communication, exchange of ideas, updating information. All of that is what the discovery process is all about. And that's why it's trial preparation, because again, most cases, we're not going to go to trial without participating in the formal discovery process. Now, that happens on occasion, but usually it doesn't. And if we don't provide the information during the discovery process, you can't use it at trial. That's why it's important. If we think we're going to need the information, that we have to produce it, and the earlier we produce it, the more likely we'll be able to use it at trial.
Right. I guess this is true of all discovery, but certainly talking about the financial declaration, not only is it important for getting certain facts about your situation in front of the court, there's also things that maybe aren't spelled out on the page that says a lot. Okay.
Absolutely.
When I look at a financial declaration that somebody's provided that is handwritten and every figure in the document is rounded off to a perfect zero, or even to every $500 or something like that, I know that that's something that a person did not put a lot of time, effort, or energy into.
Right. There's a difference between a $300 electricity bill and one that says $259.48.
Right. It also maybe says something about how seriously you're taking this circumstance.
Right.
About how accurate you're trying to be about the information that's contained in it.
Yep.
When I submit a financial declaration to a court, I want the court to be able to look at it and say, I believe that every number on here is supported in some way, shape, or form. And it is tethered, or it is anchored in some type of real number. Yeah. This wasn't something where, we licked our finger in the parking lot and filled it out on the hood of the car, which happens.
And that happens. I mean, it's not uncommon. Look, not all lawyers are created equally. Not all people who are in legal disputes are created equally. And so, sometimes it's the fault of the lawyer, sometimes it's the fault of the client, but it's not uncommon that somebody is in the parking lot trying to scribble out a financial statement and uses that in a courtroom, in a trial. And like I said, it's not ideal. We would never, ever do that, but it happens.
Right. And, even just preparing it will help you get ready.
Exactly.
It helps you learn about, how much do my monthly expenses? What does it really cost for me to live?
It's budgeting.
That's going to help you also tailor what it is that you want, or what it is specifically that you're requesting from the court.
And that, Matt, you bring up talking about kind of the story that a financial declaration tells sometimes, outside of the actual numbers, that makes me think of photographs too, because photographs are similar. Because if we're going to trial, especially if you're having a custody case, or, that's the primary aspect of your dispute, I believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so I'm going to ask you, I want to see a picture of your family. I want to see a picture of you guys together. I want to see a picture of your house. I want to see a picture of, if there's an expensive painting that there's a dispute over, I want to see a photograph of the painting. If you're asking for custody of your child, then I want to see a photograph of that child's room. I mean, so photographs are like that as well, because, there's one document, one thing that tells so much about your life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we referenced it earlier. I mean, trials, a big part of a trial is telling a story. Okay. And the best storytellers are able to do so vividly.
Right.
Okay. So adding things like photographs, or sometimes even videos, audio recordings, those can be very helpful to not only tell your own story, but to help the judge put themselves, into your life a little bit.
That's right. I had a client who was just in a horribly abusive relationship, and she was smart enough to, when her husband started raging, to hit the audio record button on her cell phone. And the audio files that she was able to harvest and generate really made the biggest difference in her, not at trial, but being able to use that information to achieve a settlement.
Sure.
And, so you've got to be a little creative. A good lawyer is going to help you think through the type of information that'll help tell your story. But Matt, you said it way better than I could have. It's all about storytelling, and we are making a presentation about your life through the lens of, what it is your objectives are.